Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Marcus Baptiste. He is a Master of Science in Geographic Information Systems. He recently graduated from Western Illinois University. So I'm happy to have him here with me today to speak on education as an international student in the United States. Marcus, thank you very much for agreeing to do this, and thank you very much for being here.
All right, thank you, Tim, for having me. Thank you.
All right, so I think the natural place to start any conversation is to get an idea as to who we're speaking to. So if you can just basically introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and how maybe you have gotten to this point where you are a Master of Science in Geographic Information Systems.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, I'm Marcus Baptiste. I am from Grenada, St. David's actually. It all started for me, I should give some background first in terms of what I do. So I am a GIS analyst for a renewable energy development firm, and I basically do a lot of site suitability and determining where is the best place to put solar arrays. But just a little bit about my background in terms of education. My journey started off in St. David's Sec. I'm always fond of the sciences. Then I transitioned to Marshall Community College, where I pursued natural sciences, maths, physics, and chemistry. Taught for a while, and then migrated to the United States to start my bachelor's in geosciences at Midwestern State University. There I was able to dabble in some of the petroleum engineering courses, a lot of field exploration, and found my way onto a GIS course in my last semester, which then kind of allowed me to pivot a little in terms of my educational journey, and that led me to pursuing my master's in GIS at Western Illinois University. So it's been a journey, definitely, a journey that I definitely enjoy. It's been one that I would definitely say that I've learned a lot along the way, right? And the experience itself, I can definitely share with, persons who are interested and persons who are who's aspiring to take the leap of faith and to start their own quest in the educational realm.
Okay, so I think you've said some things there that are very interesting. I want to dig in a little more on that. You mentioned that it seems that you didn't necessarily, in your original plan, think of doing GIS as something that you want to really focus on.
Yeah.
Because you said you were introduced to it in the last semester of your courses. So
Yes.
Is there something particular that really attracted you to that area of study?
Yes, definitely. GIS itself, it's a multidisciplinary field, so it can be incorporated into health, business, you name it. GIS can be incorporated into any place. So that course actually allowed me to use GIS in a geological setting, where I was able to map the topography and actually understand what is happening with the topography, the undulations, and all those so forth. And after realizing what it can actually, the kind of information it gives you, the visualization and understanding, it gives you a whole different insight of what you're looking at. So definitely went on and pursued my master's, and trust me, GIS opened up a whole different world for me, to be honest. So we started to bring in technology into the matter. So we started to use drone imagery. We started to use a lot of indoor mapping, laser guns to actually map out in the structure of schools. I actually even had the opportunity to fly a drone for a damage assessment after a tornado, which happened not too far from where we live. So yeah, GIS is multidisciplinary. It's just a little breakdown. It's the science of where everything is located, right? And it allows you to learn patterns of things happening around you that you don't really pay attention to, and bring these insights to the table and make proper decisions, business decisions.
Okay. So I'm learning a lot today, and I'm pretty sure that people listening are learning too. So I think I still want to delve a little more into understanding what GIS is. So is GIS considered to be a STEM area of study, meaning it's one of those things that fall under science, technology, engineering, and math?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in terms of its application as a STEM area of study, now, one of the things that we encourage people to do is to consider those areas if they're coming to the United States, because that's one of the areas that has extra benefits that other areas don't. So typically, if you study like something in the arts or something along those lines, you don't get some of the benefits that STEM students enjoy in terms of being able to get extended work permits and all of that to work after you studied and all of that. So is there a reason specifically that you would encourage students to go into STEM versus other areas of study, as someone who has actually experienced it?
STEM feels altogether, based on how the U.S. market is looking, they're a lot more marketable, they're a lot more desirable and lucrative. And most times these positions, right, carry their own financial component. These professionals are most times paid pretty well. And as you mentioned, you have the longer OPT time, which increases the chance for employers to see your skill, realize that you're a current professional and you're taking quite an advantage of what you're doing to become a better person in the field, and gives them the opportunity to say, hey, look, I need you in this company, so I'm going to extend your work visa, go the H-1B route. So yeah, STEM fields are definitely a plus when coming to the United States.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's good advice, because sometimes students may want to come to study and they may want to do, I don't want to necessarily call a particular area because I'm not trying to discourage anyone, but I think sometimes we might be limiting ourselves, or we're not thinking about the return on investment based on the type of areas that we study. You don't necessarily want to come here and spend a bunch of US dollars to get a degree and you cannot even pay back for the degree. So, it's something that we really encourage students to explore. Challenge yourself. Sometimes you might think you can't do it. You didn't necessarily think you would do GIS per se. But at the end of the day, you had the capability, you had the ability, and here you are with a master's degree. So I think students need to be open to challenging themselves in different areas that may seem a little out of the scope for them in the very beginning. In terms of your educational journey, you said that you taught for a while. Would you say that teaching for a while and taking maybe a couple of years before you actually came to study kind of better prepared you for taking full advantage of these opportunities?
Oh yeah. Teaching for a while definitely allowed me to grow maturity. I think even after coming up here, I was so grateful for I actually did take that time off to learn more about myself. So when I came here, I actually knew what I came here for. I knew my purpose, and I knew that this is it, and you need to find that drive, and knowing that I myself as an individual wanted something for. I saw a vision that I wanted to get into the field of geology, and Grenada didn't really permit that. So teaching actually allowed me to also accumulate funds and make that transition, knowing that fully well that I am here for business, nothing else.
Yeah. And I like what you said that, you're here for business, meaning that aside from all the little play that you might play in between classes or between, semesters, at the end of the day, you have that ultimate goal, and you're trained, and you're trained on that particular target. And that's important, because sometimes students come and they get kind of sidetracked by other distractions and stuff. But I think preparing yourself, being a bit more mature, gives you that ability to say, you know what, this is what I'm here for, and I'm going to achieve this, and this is what I need to do it to get it done. Yeah. So All right. So you taught for a while. You left Grenada, and you came to the U.S. But I'm sure when you came to the U.S., there must have been some things that you thought of that you wish you knew. There must have been some things that you were like, man, I wish I knew this even before I came to the U.S. to study. So can you just maybe at the top of your head think about some things that you wish you knew before you came out here to study?
Okay. I would say that being in Grenada and after getting to the United States, well, actually getting to Midwestern, after my first semester, actually, the amount of in-house scholarships they are, it's mind-blowing. You're not privy to that information when you're back home. And after your first semester, you realize that once you meet a certain GPA, you will qualify for a lot of merit-based scholarships. That's definitely one thing that that I wasn't really aware of. Right. Next is, but I wouldn't say is that it allows you to broaden your scope. Right. So, for example, I didn't know about GIS. GIS in that last semester. GIS came on me, actually found me, and now that I'm actually in the field and I'm actually seeing how much ways you can implement GIS in different fields and how you can manipulate the software and manipulate technology to get patterns and trends and play with data to get particular results. It's amazing to see. So being in Grenada doesn't allow you to meet or interact with different niche of your field. Yes, you might want to pursue, for I did geology, I might want to pursue geology, right? But there's so much other things in geology that you can actually get into.
Yeah, and I think I like how you said that, because sometimes just not being in a situation or being in a place or being in that environment, it doesn't necessarily give you a full scope of all of the opportunities that are available. Exactly. And I think some students might be just thinking, well, I just want to come to biology, chemistry, whatever. Yeah, those are maybe broader areas, but there are so many specific programs and degrees that you can do, and concentrations that you can do based on your liking for a particular area of study. So I think that is important for students, and that is part of what we try to do. We try to give people knowledge even before they get here, so that they are aware that these things exist and they can actually be a part of it. So you came, you found what you found. You realized that there are a lot of scholarships. There are a lot of things that are available that I had no idea was out there. And I think scholarships is a big topic for a lot of international students. But if you were to give a student some advice, because they don't have all of the money that it takes to finish that degree or to cover every single cost, what advice would you give to that student who is wanting to study, but they don't necessarily have the means to cover everything, like all 3.5 or 4 years of their studies?
Well, to start, Western Illinois University actually offered the opportunity to actually start online. That actually alleviates a big cost. You don't have to pay for books, or not books, but you don't have to pay for housing because you're actually doing your course, you're studying from home. That was definitely a really good incentive. But I think starting is always the hardest thing. Right? Starting is always the hardest thing. And just as many may think, we all came from pretty much the same circumstances where funding was always a problem.
Yeah.
You would always think about funding, like, man, what would happen? But as I mentioned prior, once you get here, you would realize that as long as you're keeping your GPA up, you're networking, you're meeting different people, you're actually looking for internships in the summertime, all right? All of these things actually do add up in the long run, because at the end of the day, you have an internship, you get paid quite some money during those couple months. And then rolling over into the semester, you can actually start to pay for your very own tuition, and actually not touching your loans or whatnot back home. And added on that, you have your scholarships that would go to your tuition because you're performing highly. So there are a lot of little things that do adds up at the end of the day to alleviate the cost. So yeah, I will ahead always tell me never make money the problem.
I think that saying that we have in Grenada, we say one cocoa fill a basket.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't necessarily have to have the whole basket filled with one single crack of that cocoa pod.
Exactly.
But by putting one in, you then can fill that basket. So there are a lot of different opportunities to gain scholarships.
Exactly.
There's opportunities to work. There's opportunities, as you've said, to earn while you are a student. It's just being able to cover that first year is important for visa reasons and all of that. Yeah. But don't necessarily doubt the fact that scholarships and other things can be available for you, but you have to put the work in. You notice Marcus said multiple times you have to perform at the level that affords you these scholarships. So you can't just expect, you'll just get scholarships like that.
Yeah.
But once you perform and you do what you have to do, scholarships and funding, it's available. So so you did your undergrad degree, and then you mentioned Western Illinois University where you did your master's degree. And you mentioned the option that they have of studying online, which reduces your cost because you don't have to pay for all of these other expenses that goes with living in the U.S. while you're at school. And I think a lot of students can take advantage of that. You can start your first degree, or you start your first couple semesters online, and then you can transfer in person to come to Western Illinois. So let's talk a little bit about Western Illinois. It's a program that has been developed by someone that we both know, Dr. Randy Glean, who has been in this space for like almost 30 years, I believe, helping international students to gain their education in the U.S. So could you just mention some of those things that you really appreciate that Western Illinois did for you in terms of their accommodation and the way that they helped you to transition and to actually help you to get your degree?
So I can count so much on top of my head, but I'll just give you the top three. Western Illinois, what they did, especially from the global studies side, they allow a smooth transition. So essentially for people arriving to the United States, they would, get them from the airport. Then after you do the in-house runs around the place if you want to get some, so you might want to take your Walmart, you might want to get out a little groceries, all the things around the place. Well, they provide a bus to get that done. And then we have just creating a community. So we have an organization here called SOCA. So it allows everybody to somewhat feel at home. So we have people from, just name the islands, we have somebody in there. So these are the three I would say definitely provided that ease of transition into the United States, and makes everybody feel at home, makes everybody feel comfortable, because moving from somewhere you're comfortable to somewhere you actually don't know, you actually would need someone to lean on, and the organization and the university actually did provide those avenues to feel comfortable. Right, it's very important. Yeah.
And to expand on that, I often tell people that a lot of the universities that we partner with, we don't only work with Western Illinois University, but we partner with other universities that provide similar services for international students. So they will pick you up on the airport. And I mean, everything starts even before that in terms of communicating with you, in terms of helping you to transition and all of that. But when you get here, there are some hands-on things that they do which makes your transition much easier. So I do want people to keep that in mind. When we promote a university, we're promoting the university knowing that they provide all of these services that international students find really valuable. So I don't like to have a conversation about only positives, because I think sometimes we could give people the illusion that everything is just going to be all hunky-dory and good, and but can you think of any challenge or anything that you came across while you were here that was somewhat of a stumbling block that you had to climb over?
No. Well, firstly, I'm a tropical person. I'm from the tropics. Dealing with the winters was really hard at first, but you acclimatize yourself to it, and it becomes bearable. Definitely becomes bearable. Next, the fact that you're away from family and those stuff like that, you will feel lonely at times, but that's why we have the organization to fill those small voids. I mean, you'll never feel as home as when you're actually home, but giving you that luxury of having people that you similar journey, similar culture, actually does a lot for you. And as I speak about culture, you would actually face the difference in culture. You would actually realize that a lot of the things that we do in the culture that is a norm is actually not so much of a norm up here.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, how should I put it? You, in terms of have drinking alcohol and those stuff like that, you could actually have a beer by a shop outside that you cannot drink outside up here. So there are just a lot of little things that that you'd realize that there is a lot of difference. But as I said, as long as your mind is on the end goal, everybody who knows what they want will definitely get what they want.
Yeah. So the cultural adjustment, I think, is something that people have to think about. It's not that you're leaving your home, you're not leaving Jamaica, St. Lucia, Grenada, wherever, and just coming to a place that feels exactly like where you came from.
Exactly.
So I think one of the things that Dr. Glenn would always say to us is that when you come, you have to have the mentality of working in the space that you're in. You can't come, but with the expectation of having everything as if you're home. So I think it's important for students to understand that the mindset has to change from the very beginning. Like, you have to tell yourself, I'm going to a new space, I'm going to a new environment, I have to learn the rules, I have to follow what would be the norm in that area, and that would make your transition easier. Don't put up too much resistance, or else it's going to be torture for you. So that's very important for students to understand. Before we wrap up this conversation, I kind of wanted to speak about a little bit about your internships and stuff. You mentioned internships in the beginning. I know you may have done internships when you were undergrad at your first university, but did you also do internships at your master's degree level?
Yes, I did. So for my master's degree, I actually did an internship with the City of Silvis, partnered with the Western Illinois GIS Center. So what I did there, I actually led a team. The goal of the project was to eradicate all lead lines in the City of Silvis. It was actually an initiative by the Illinois EPA, somewhat to prevent the sipping of lead into the water systems, to alleviate the problem of the health crisis that happened in Flint, Michigan, where they were having so much health issues because lead was actually getting into the water systems, and so the project actually allowed me that time to lead a team where we would actually go to different houses, collect the data from the houses and put it into a web map, bring it back into the lab, do our analysis. Then after, we had to do a couple presentations to the mayor of the city, some other heads of the city as well. And at the end of it, we were rewarded because, we made the news a couple times. Uh-huh. Made the news a couple times, and then we were actually awarded by the American Public Works Association of Illinois, the Illinois chapter, for the Management Innovation Award of the year. So, man, it was rewarding. I enjoyed that project very much.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. How did you get that internship? Was it something that was offered through your college and department, or was it something that you had to seek?
Well, initially I was working as a graduate assistant in the GIS center. So that position somewhat spilled over into the summer, right? And they basically tasked me with the responsibility of somewhat overseeing that project and from start to finish.
Oh, okay. So you worked in that office as a graduate assistant, and it kind of put you in a position where you could gain even better opportunities because of that. Yeah. So students who are listening, and you want to do a master's degree, there's something called graduate assistants, where you get to work in the office, the department, the college. In my case, I worked as a research assistant, where I worked with a professor who was conducting research, and I helped with all his data gathering. We did interviews. We did all kinds of different things. But graduate assistants have jobs where they work along with professors and they work along with the college or the department based on certain projects. And so those are things that you can do. Yeah. First of all, you get paid. You get paid as a student, and you get a stipend. Yeah. It's a little more than like the typical minimum wage jobs that you would find. Yeah. From what I recall, I don't know if it was the same for you, but I did get paid more than minimum wage. And you get to work along with professors who are really smart, who've been in the industry, who have access to information. They have leads. They have friends in the field that you can get jobs with after. So I think maybe my next question would be, how do you think your internship bled over or led into the area that you're working in today? Was there some correlation between what you did as an intern and the job that you're doing today?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say that even in the interview so what I did, I created a portfolio of all the work and a lot of the visuals that I created for that project. And in the interview, a lot of the questions were on those projects. Which was easy to explain because I was actually there firsthand, and it led into this opportunity, and it was just so crazy how everything just unfolded. Because one of my professors was actually saying to me, like, this opportunity that you're actually doing right now, I bet you any money you would get a job from it, you know. And
wow,
said, so done, yeah. Yeah, so I'm definitely grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah. I think the overall message that I'm getting from what you're saying is that don't think of any internship opportunity as too small or too insignificant, because you never know the opportunity that it can lead to later on, you know. So I'm glad to hear you share that story. Just to pivot a bit, one of the things that I really appreciate you for, behind the scenes, you're one of those people who I've had you in previous videos already talking to international students about studying in the US. You're very, very willing to cooperate. You're willing to share information with students at all times. Anytime I ask you for anything, you're always like, yeah, man, send that information across. I'll share it. I'll do this. I'll do that. So I know that you have a passion for sharing some of the things that you've experienced with other people, because you want them to succeed too. So could you just share a little bit more about why you're so passionate about giving back in that area?
For me, I would say that just how I am passionate about giving back, there were people who actually helped me along the road as well, and it's only fair to continue that trend, continue that phase of giving back, because at the end of the day, we would look out for our own, definitely, and I like to see people succeed, just the same. So the ease of transition, the way everything was laid out nicely for me when I got here, it really did help a lot, and in different ways, mentally, financially, physically, it really did go a long way, and it's like I said, it's only fair to continue that process, to make others feel welcome and to ease the transition so that they can, place the energy or focus into something else, other than I wonder where I would sleep tonight, or what I would eat, so just that getting that part of it out of the way and making everybody feel comfortable is priority.
Yeah, I as you were saying that, I remembered something that Dr. Glenn would always say to us. He said, whenever you receive anything, you get knowledge from somebody who did this before.
Exactly.
You can't necessarily pay them back. So don't bother too much about paying them for what they've given you, but pay it forward. Pay it to the people that are coming in the future so that they can benefit from what you got. You know what I mean? So it's one thing that we always do. We always are willing to share with other students our experiences and how they can learn and benefit from what we've done in the past. So in that whole vein, let's say you're talking to a student who's sitting somewhere across the world, not in the U.S. They're thinking about coming to the U.S. to study, but they're not sure, if they have what it takes. What would be that little pep talk that you would give that person to encourage them?
Okay, the first thing I would tell them to do is research. Do your research. Whatever the field you're trying to get into, whatever the school you're trying to get into, do your research. Get to know what they offer, what scholarships they might offer, what field or concentrations in that field you might be interested in. Also, I would tell them to join platforms that allow you to network. I don't think people put emphasis on how important networking is. So far as platforms like LinkedIn, if you want to become a biochemist, go on LinkedIn and search people who are actually professionals in that field. Reach out to them. These people are very willing to answer questions. You'll be surprised. So reach out to them, ask questions, get the information, and you never know. These might be the same people after you graduate. You could send a message like, "Hey, look, I just graduated. What positions do your company have?" So network. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. All of the interviews that I've had so far, they always mention networking, and we understand the importance of networking. But I think it's harder to network in the Caribbean sometimes because you don't come across people who have a broad swath of knowledge or come from a lot of different parts or places in the world. But one of the things about being in the US is that you have the opportunity to meet people from various backgrounds, from different countries. And by various backgrounds, I mean people who have different levels of experience. Exactly. Some of the people that you were in class with, I'm sure they maybe had industry experience and then they came back to do a master's and all of that stuff. So you're literally interacting with people who can literally help you to find a job or put you on to the next opportunity. So go out of your shell, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Don't be like, if I'm uncomfortable and I can't function. Sometimes you have to go in a space where you don't know anybody, but you just have to talk to people that are strange to you. So I think all of those are really good pieces of advice that students can really benefit from. Well, Marcus, it was great talking to you. I don't know if you have any last words to offer to students who might be listening or watching this interview, but feel free to share anything else you have in closing.
I mean, just want to leave them with the phrase, growth happens wherever you are comfortable. Right? So taking the leap of faith, it doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. Right? I did it and I'm here now. Right? And we have Tim on his team who makes these platforms so accessible, and with all this information, it definitely aids in the process in moving forward. And Tim, again, thank you for having me here. Thank you for starting this podcast to bring information and bring light to studying in the United States. It definitely will go a long way for the future students. Yeah,
I appreciate you, Marcus, and I thank you for sharing those sentiments, and thank you for being on. And I hope that whoever comes across this information would be more than willing to engage. Marcus is very willing to share. So there have many students who've come across to me and said, "Hey, I want to do something in GIS." And I say, "Okay, I have a guy who you can speak with." And I know that you're very willing. Every time I reach out to you and I say, "Marcus, I have someone that wants to talk to you about so-and-so," He'd be like, oh, yeah, just send them across, man. I'll talk to them, send them a number, whatever. So if you are wanting to contact Marcus, I wouldn't give his information out here so that you'll be, swarming him with a bunch of calls. But if you reach out to us and you tell me that you have an interest in studying GIS, or anything along the lines of geology, or anything along those lines, I'll be willing to share Marcus's information with you so that you can contact him and speak with him directly about what he does and what are the opportunities that are available out there. So once again, Marcus, thank you very much for being here. And we look forward to seeing what the great things you do in the future. And we appreciate you being here today. And thank you very much.
All right, man. Thank you. All right. Have a good one.